Hello and welcome to this WordPress tutorial. Today's topic is dealing with the block editor. So WordPress released this new editor that is essentially a drag and drop operator. So it allows you to build sites a whole lot easier and lay them out versus the way, as you can see right here before you, the way it used to be, which is by the way, is still available. This sort of empty canvas, kind of like Microsoft Word-like, where you have to deal with, simple formatting tools and some other layout, some other kind of antiquated forms of laying things out, such as tables and the like, to this new slick, builder called the block editor. So, for most of you, if you've upgraded to the latest versions of WordPress in the last year or so, you probably already have this in place, but in some instances, in a lot of instances actually, I should say, there hasn't been that transition as of yet, so you probably have the classic editor, that's what this is referred to as, integrated still on your site, so you're maybe still working on it. So this next kind of thing I'm going to show you may or may not be available, but basically if you're on a classic editor look, you could switch to the block editor, and there's a sidebar option right here for switching to block editor. If you do not see that, ask your web developer, or you can go under settings if you're an administrator and writing, and then switch, select the option for allow user to switch between the block and the classic editor. That's assuming, because the only way to really have this classic editor, incidentally, is if you have a plugin for the classic editor. Because what WordPress did is they stripped out the classic editor and they force-fed us the block editor, which angered a lot actually, because at that time the block editor was still not mature enough or refined enough to really merit doing that. However, it's gotten to a point where it's really come a long way, and that's why I've kind of decided to make this video. So anyways, all that being said, let's just go ahead and assume you've got this option in place. So I'm going to go ahead and go away from the classic editor for this page, and I'm going to switch to the block editor, aka also known as the Gutenberg Editor. All right, so the first thing you're going to notice is you're going to be able to title your page. So I'm just going to call it About Us. The next piece to kind of pay attention to is probably all the options here to your top right and sidebar right. What you're accustomed to has shifted a little bit. The UI has been polished up here. But you'll notice you have your familiar tools like Save Draft, Preview, Publish, and then the visibility and other kinds of details that you're kind of accustomed when building WordPress. That's assuming you do work with it. So I'm just going to point that out that it's there, and they work all the same as it did with the classic editor. I'm going to veer right back up here to the actual block layout editor. So WordPress now works in this editor, allowing you to add blocks. So there's all kinds of blocks. There's paragraph blocks. There's a paragraph block. There's an image block. If you've got plugins integrated, they've got their own blocks. This is a slider block, for example, called Soliloquy. You can add lists. You can add a gallery. And these are, by the way, this is categorized by the ones that are mostly used. Then you can kind of drill down from there. There's more. These are commonly used blocks, including video, audio, quote, file. You have formatting blocks. And I'm not going to go into detail about all of these. There's table block. But I just wanted to point out that it's there. There's also, you can actually embed widgets now as a block. And, various social media blocks and other third-party blocks. And then if you've got, the Yoast plugin, it's got its own, and Jetpack has its own as well. So I just wanted to point out that it's there. If you ever need to look for a specific block, you can actually start typing it in here. For example, if I'm looking for the image block, I just type it in here, and then it'll show all the things that are related to images, including third-party sites. So I'm going to go ahead and just erase this and start with a simple block. every time you add, if you just click this plus option, the default block is paragraph. So I'm already in the paragraph block. And if you notice when I clicked in here, this switched off to the paragraph block settings, including font size. If you want to drop what's called drop cap, which means you have the first letter of the paragraph show in a large format, left aligned. You've probably seen that in many magazines and the like. Choosing your colors, your background, your text colors, pretty simple stuff. You can clear it there. Your foreground color for text, you can clear it, or you could choose a custom color if you look. I'll go in more in depth about individual blocks, but I wanted to kind of give an overview that this is kind of the individual settings for a block over here on the right. Of course, when you start typing inside, you'll get options here for the paragraph box and block, for this instance. Formatting tools, alignment and the like. And then you can hit enter on your keyboard and start a new block. But say maybe you want to start something before and you can't quite click in there. You can either, do that, what I just did there. You can kind of hover over, hit the plus icon and get another paragraph block, for example, or maybe you want an image block. Or you don't. And by the way, I am on my keyboard. When you see it go away, I'm hitting Control Z on my keyboard. Or you can also come up here to hit undo, redo, which is very handy. Also keep in mind you can add blocks from up here as well. So you don't necessarily have to do what I'm doing. But I'm just showing you the kind of the commonly used way. This is another handy tool, is you can click this kind of settings option behind any block and you can insert before, insert after. Another commonly used one is you could duplicate, which is very handy. If say you put in a lot of effort into a specific block, you can duplicate it, and you don't have to replicate your work. It's already there. You can also edit as HTML if you're comfortable with editing in that language. And I'll cover the reusable blocks, but in essence, you can make something a template, reuse it later. In another instance, if you don't plan to edit this particular block, say it's just going to be in 50 different spots, add it to your reusable blocks. But again, we'll cover that sometime later. We'll also cover groups, what that means in another one, but basically allows you to select blocks and then treat them like as one whole block. And then you can, of course, delete a block, simply like that. The ones that I use a lot are duplicate, insert before, insert after. I definitely use the HTML one, but I would only say use that if you're comfortable in using coding, of course. And I use the group and remove block. So those are the ones so pretty much all of them. I'm gonna go ahead and just select this insert before, and you notice it inserts the block. You'll usually have the latest 3 that you've used kind of show up on here on the right. But I'm going to go ahead and just manually select an image one. And I'm going to go ahead and select it from my media library. And you can see when I select this picture, there it goes right in there. And I'll cover this more in depth, but there are the individual parameters around there. You'll notice you can play with the sizing right away, and which is great. You can also play with the formatting, and you can link and do all kinds of other stuff with it. I'm going to just swap out the picture for another one. And you can see it's as simple as that. The last couple pieces I want to cover again is just coming back here to the publishing tools. You can, of course, proactively save your page as a draft. You can preview your page as you go via that click option. It's got a nice little splash page before you actually preview. There you see it. And of course, you can publish. It's going to say you're ready to publish, just kind of verifying you are. You can. And I'll go over these some other time, but this is, if you want to publish it at a certain scheduled date, or if you want to publish it right away, once you hit that, it'll be shown to the masses. And kind of the last big piece I want to show you is the drag and dropping of these. You could choose to use, if you notice when I click on a block, you get this option here. You could choose to kind of hit the arrows to go up and down. That's one way of going about it. And sometimes you may need it. Depending on your screen size, it can get frustrating to drag and drop stuff. But let's just say we want to drag this image below the word titles. We'll just grab it here and bring it on down. And that's as simple as that. And it'll all depend whether that's useful or the arrows are. Sometimes you might get frustrated with the window being too small and it's hard to drag and drop stuff. So that's this arrow is certainly an option. But I'll just show you one more time. It's as simple as that. And that, I think, wraps it up for this intro video. A little bit longer than I anticipated, but if you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate a like, or comment with any questions or comments you have about this video. What do you want to see next? Is something that I would love your feedback on. And the ultimate thing, if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe to this channel, and also hit the bell if you want to be notified of new videos when they come online. Thank you so much for viewing this, and I will see you on the next video.